we talk about quite a bit how a lot of situations that we see end up being people wanting it to be a conspiracy or think it could be a conspiracy, and ends up being, just part of being a human being or whatever. Well, in this situation, we have Aaron Carter, okay?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, Aaron Carter. So we're taking it to Hollywood
From
this time.
the Jersey Beast to Aaron Carter.
Yeah. So, how much do you know about his death?
Okay, so I remember when he was still alive and he was going on like the No Jumper podcast, and he was talking about how his brother Nick was like this terrible person, and he was trying to help victims or something like that of his brother essaying girls.
Yeah,
and it was like a whole bunch of, like, he made a bunch of crazy claims, and I remember people largely didn't believe him and thought he was like on drugs and like he was having mental health issues and like all kinds of stuff.
Yes, and he actually ended up coming out saying that he wanted to rekindle the relationships with his family members after that. So if I had to guess, there was never a confirmation with him saying, hey, I made it all up. But there was confirmation of him saying, hey, I was diagnosed with acute anxiety, multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia, and some sort of manic depression. Yep, so towards the end, that's what he was saying he was diagnosed with. So I see that, and I feel like that's his coming out in public version of an apology, kind of.
Yeah,
now,
he was like manic. He was crazy.
I know.
On those.
I know. Here's the thing, though, okay? So we're looking at a family that has been in the light as long as we've known about them. Almost every single one of them. They had their own reality TV show. You have multiple kids who are stars, either rapping, singing, performing, whatever, right?
Yep.
Well, you now have two people that ended themselves, self-deleted themselves.
Two?
Yeah, two people. So it started with one of the sisters, and she had a drug addiction and couldn't control it and overdosed, and she passed, okay? Now...
But did she mean to?
No, accidental.
Okay.
Now, Aaron Carter, like you said, before his passing, had been going on multiple shows, multiple podcasts. I mean, I know even Rogan had made a comment saying that Aaron Carter had reached out to him, but he just didn't feel like it was a good fit or whatever, based on what he was looking to talk about and what Joe primarily talks about. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like he was trying to make things right in the end, okay? He also went on multiple doctor shows talking about his addiction, and he had said that he started huffing at around 16 with compressed air. And, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have experience with that, not necessarily myself, but being around it and everything else, and, like, that is a wild drug. I mean, it's not even meant to be a drug. It's meant for
like
cleaning
Steve-O.
electronics. Yes. Yeah, exactly. It takes you over from euphoria to full-blown hallucinations.
But air duster's different than whippets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I believe it was air duster he was primarily using.
Aaron Carter?
Yep, because he
Okay.
talked about going to Staples in disguise and things like that. So I'm assuming he's not going to get cans
Whipped cream
of
from Staples.
Whipped cream from Staples. Yep, exactly. So, all right, now we fast track up to his untimely death.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I just remember watching the podcast and thinking, gosh, what happened to him?
Yeah.
It was honestly kind of sad because
Yeah.
I grew up like listening to "I Want Candy"
Yep.
and like seeing him on TV and
He
stuff.
had sold millions of records between his two first records of the I Want Candy, How I Beat Shaq. What was that other one? There was one other really popular song. And then he started moving to TV where he was doing shows like Lizzie McGuire. What was the other one? Seventh Heaven?
Oh yeah,
Was it Seventh
and
Heaven?
I watched those.
Yep. So by all accounts, it seemed like he was, becoming part of Hollywood, and it seems like a lot of people in Hollywood end up with drug addictions. It's a fast life. So, like, it makes sense for those things to go hand in hand, in my opinion.
But the sister, too, and she wasn't famous. So
it's weird.
So, I mean, addiction is like a family disease.
It is.
It runs in families. Like, there's certain behaviors, there's certain trauma that just, it passes on until somebody finally breaks the cycle, usually.
Yep. Absolutely. So, on November 6th of 2022, at Aaron Carter's house, his newly hired maid, personal manager, she kind of fit all roles, had walked into his house to do some things and screamed at the top of her lungs. She walked into the bathroom and found Aaron Carter fully clothed in the bathtub, a full bathtub of water, and called 911. 911 suggested she try CPR and everything, and they ended up coming and pulled him out and laid him down.
With blood or like with like an electronic or
nope, none of the above. So the medical team ended up coming and trying to revive him, but he had been too far gone. Okay, so
I see where this is going now.
Looking at the scene here, they said they found cans of duster. They found multiple pill bottles, and they couldn't see anything else wrong with him. Now, I did look through the autopsy report and the medical examiner's report, and it does say that he had a couple minor marks on him. One just like on his upper lip below his nose, and another one was like on his nail bed or something like that, right by one of his nail beds. Other than that, no other lacerations, bruising, any...
Literally nothing.
Nothing. So basically this 10-page report is multiple pages of his tattoos, talking about the evidence, therapeutic intervention, postmortem changes, non-fatality injuries, and then it goes into the incision of the autopsy and everything like that. So now this didn't come out for a while, okay, and I think that's what started all of this. Not long after, his mom, his blood mom, which is separated from the dad and that side of the family, started yelling at the top of her lungs, "Conspiracy," okay?
Oh, gosh.
There's something going on here. I don't know why the police didn't do what they were supposed to do. And there were a ton of people that wanted to end him. Do I think that he had a lot of enemies with how he was? Yes. He lived a crazy life, okay?
He really did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do I think the police might have made some minor mistakes? Maybe, okay? So I figured we could dig in and see exactly what she was talking about. So she believes that he was ended intentionally by someone, okay? So when I first hear that, the first thing I think of is, okay, so why? Why does she think that, And I start trying to figure out reasons why. There was no forced entry, you guys. There wasn't anything broken. There wasn't anything ransacked. There wasn't anything out of place in his house. All his jewelry was there. He had pieces of jewelry that were like $50,000 or something like that. So he had a lot of valuable stuff. Nothing was missing. Nothing seemed out of place, okay? So the police responded saying, everything was how it should have been.
Okay, but with the autopsy, what was the cause of death?
I'll get to that point.
Okay.
We're going in a timeline here. And everything that I'm talking about is in that timeline. So before the official cause of death was released, all this started going on.
Okay.
Now, she wasn't happy with what the police were saying, and apparently a police officer did come back out there. Some of the other things she was highlighting was that police let people walk in and out of the crime scene, okay? Which, in my opinion, is not that weird. It seemed pretty self-evident what had gone on there. They found cans of duster, okay? They found prescription bottles. They found him in a bathtub. Were there probably some weird things? Yes, like him wearing clothes in the bathtub. However, by all accounts, he had been clean, and this looks like a relapse. So when people relapse is normally when they don't make it. They've been off of whatever their drug of choice is then, and they try starting it again at a similar dose or whatever, and they
don't have a tolerance anymore.
They don't make it a lot of times.
It's too much.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So
too much.
He has a son, and he was trying to get better for his son. So the mom didn't have custody, he didn't have custody, and he wanted custody. Now, during this time, the fiance, or so-called fiance, came over, and there was a ton of media attention on her, okay? And here's the thing. They had a crazy relationship to the point where he was getting an order to keep her away. She wasn't allowed at his house. There were reports of her chasing him with a knife. He had social media posts saying, I'm just begging you to leave me alone. He would block her on social media. She would create new accounts and harass him and stalk him. And literally at one point on social media said she was going to end him, okay?
Oh, gosh.
So, again, a lot of people started picking this story up, and they started, if you'll look up her name, I forget it. I didn't write it down here. If a lot of people started picking this story up and running with it.
Melanie Martin.
That's her.
This is her.
Yep.
Okay.
So a lot of people started running with it, and a lot of people felt like she was involved with it, through all the threats, through their toxic relationship. When she got to the house, she sat outside the house, even though police were letting people in, and had a breakdown. Could it have been for the attention? Sure. I think it could be. I think it could be for the attention, and I think it could not be alarming, like there was something weird going on. I think the important thing in most of these cases is looking at the evidence, okay? It is so rare for someone to be able to get away with something like that makes so much sense and have them be ended. That is just very, 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 very rare, okay? So, another possible
I would agree.
Another possible theory is the maid, the newly hired maid that was supposed to be traveling all over the world with him, and she was homeless months earlier, and he felt like he was doing a good deed by hiring her and having her be his personal assistant. However, the only thing I would say with that is there was nothing missing. Okay?
Yeah, why would she? Where's the benefit here?
Right. So these are all people that, most people have been questioning. The mother never came out and said anything specific. Her focus has been mainly on the police officers. But, I get how people are connecting dots. But one thing that I think is really important to always point out is just the human condition. Like, we have a mom here, okay, that lost a son. That had gone on national TV before with his addiction to work through it. He had been clean for years and months, and maybe she was in a space where she felt like he was finally over it, had a reason to be over it, and then to have something this tragic happen again. You know what I mean? There's so many people out there that are connected to people who choose to end themselves that feel like that can't be the case. Like, they couldn't have done it.
Oh, man. I've seen people who went 10 years sober and then relapsed and bad.
I know.
Died.
I know.
Not died and just went back to that life.
I know.
That's crazy. But it happens.
It does. It happens every single day. Addiction is
a monster.
Really dangerous and can take over anybody, you know, if you're not working on coping mechanisms and skills and making sure you can handle your stress and like all these other things.
It's literally life and death.
Yes, yes. So, okay. All these theories are running rampant now, right? And then the LAPD finally released the autopsy. They say they found fluid in his lungs, okay? It doesn't specify whether it was water from the bathtub. It is just right lung, 900 grams, a mixture of pulmonary edema and congestion, okay? Left lung, 850 grams, pulmonary edema and congestion. So, people were concerned with this still. And I went digging, and I went looking, and while I was digging, I came across one of his last videos before he died, and it was really interesting seeing that leading up. So there's probably a 60-second part in there where he's coughing and coughing and coughing and coughing, and it sounds like his lungs are full in that video. Like maybe he was sick, maybe he had some kind of infection,
pneumonia,
something like that. Yeah, right. And by all means, it looked like he was doing okay. That doesn't mean he couldn't have relapsed days later, but that just crossed my mind when I was thinking of this, that all these things could add up. His lungs could already be full of fluid with congestion and whatever was going on, and this still happened. You know what I mean? So let's look at the evidence, okay, based on everything we're seeing here. So he was found in the bathtub fully clothed, okay?
Okay.
After the autopsy report, they found that he had a few things in his system. He had antihistamine in his system, so probably like an allergy pill.
Yeah, like it could be Claritin, it could be Benadryl, it could be anything like that.
Yep. He had Xanax, and they did find gas, like residue that's left behind with the metabolites and stuff like that from gas, from the huffing or whatever.
Okay.
So then I started digging into what could have caused this mixture, okay? So we saw the video, we didn't see it, but I saw the video of him being super congested. Now, the gas can cause heart arrhythmia. Now, in the autopsy, he doesn't have any issues with his heart, but if you pair that with all your insides are connected. You pair that with congestion and already not being able to breathe, which can cause changes in your breath and everything. That could cause somebody to pass out, okay? So he was on Xanax and sick from what it seemed like. Which is already a depressant, can cause people to nod out. I mean, it's literally deadly with opiates. And he was huffing gas at the same time, where that can cause heart arrhythmia and everything with it. Now, there's no way to know if he was sitting on the side of the tub. There's no way to know if he literally got in the tub high out of his mind with his clothes on. There's no way to know. All we know is we found him in the tub, okay? Did you ever see the pictures?
No.
Okay.
Pictures of what?
The crime scene.
No.
So, this is the bathwater here. This was such a big argument and point of contention, okay? Because
what is that?
It looks weird, all right? So
yeah, it is weird.
The first things I think of, you guys, is trying to explain this, okay? And I have a couple theories. When you die, when you pass, he could have been throwing up. When people die, it is very known that they release their number 2 system.
Bowels and 1 and 2.
Yes,
Yeah.
they sure do. Now, if he wasn't eating right, he was in relapse, that looks a very similar color to what stomach acid looks
Bile.
like. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, bile.
So, could that have happened? I think that's a super reasonable possibility. They didn't test the water because from everything they could tell, it was an accidental end themselves. You know what I mean? But this is one of the things that the mom was freaking out about. Now, when they pulled him out, some of this fluid was on the floor where they laid him down with his head on top of a towel, and all that makes sense to me coming out of there. I don't see how that would have anything to do with his death. What's interesting here, though, is I see a green towel. Did that towel go into there with him? And it's a new towel.
See, because that's what I was just thinking
Dyes.
is that could be dye from clothing or
I
something like that.
agree.
He was fully clothed.
I agree.
What I think is more odd is isn't that buildup like around the edges?
Yeah, but this is the mom's photos days after. Days after. So this is the water level with him not in the water. Imagine where it was with him in the water.
Days after, so it probably looks worse.
Yes.
Like way worse than it did when they originally found him.
Yes.
Because, he was dead sitting in there. So
Yes.
there's stuff growing in there.
Yes. Yes.
So that's a bit odd. I don't see why you would freak out about that, though. Like, what does that have to do with a conspiracy?
I don't know.
Like, how does that...
I don't know.
How does that add to your conspiracy?
They just feel like that police left a lot out. They felt like they should have been looking at it as a murder from the very beginning. I don't think I agree with that assessment.
See, here's my thing. If you see someone that looks like they deleted themselves, I think you should rule out the possibility of it actually being murder.
Okay, but you have to dive in deep enough to explain how much of an investigation warrants it, because police base investigations based on visual evidence that they see at a crime scene. And remember, from the beginning, there was no forced entry. There was nothing broke.
Okay.
There was nothing stolen.
Okay, so in that instance, it's not like he was an average person. He was super rich. So if you have, or not super rich, he's a celebrity, okay? He had money. I don't know how much he's worth. But in that case, if you're going to hire a hit or something on someone who's a celebrity and you want it to look like a self-deletion, like, they have enough, I feel like there's enough resources here, you can make it look that way and be extremely convincing.
Absolutely.
You're not there to steal anything. Why would you want it to look like somebody broke in? Like,
I agree with you, but that doesn't mean that we need to investigate all self-deletions as
no, but I
murders.
think police should talk to the family, ask them, like, were they struggling? What was going on? This and that. And then, because I feel like police a lot of times, like the Sean Doherty thing, they just looked at it and they're like, oh, it's a person hanging, like...
Yeah, but there was evidence there.
No, you're right. But there's also a lot of other cases, like in John Benet Ramsey case, the guy, Michael Helgoth, they thought that was a self-deletion. Later come to find out, it was a murder.
Yeah.
He was murdered.
Okay, but what's the evidence? Because, like, look, I will call out law enforcement all day long when something goes wrong. Like, remember that one, like, dude, the smiley face killers, okay? Some of those cases where those guys ended up in the water and they have literal injuries, defensive wound injuries, they don't have water in their lungs, like, come on. I feel like that is evidence to warrant looking into it as a possible homicide. This, I don't see any. I do not think that there is any room to say, yeah, you know, here's 10 grand. Go just check and see if there's a murder there. If there are people out there in the world that have the tools and the abilities to set up a scene so perfect like this, right, where the blood toxicology is reflecting a self-deletion, the scene is reflecting a self-deletion, they had so much control over him because of whatever substance they used or whatever the heck it was that he willingly went in the water, then look, those people are going to get away with it. But I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that.
No, I highly doubt it too, but I don't think.
Police make mistakes, okay?
They do.
I am not saying they don't.
And I'm not saying that I believe that this was a homicide, but I will say I have seen a lot of mistakes with them calling something a self-deletion when it wasn't.
I have too, but that's why we're looking at the evidence.
It makes me wonder how that can be fixed. Like, how can there be better safety guards, better training, better something to make sure that they're, like, catching it? You know what I mean?
Yep. I don't know, but just in relation to this case, okay?
Okay.
I don't see it here. I do not see a conspiracy. I don't know if the police did anything wrong. Should they have maybe locked down the crime scene and not let anybody go in and out? Maybe. But, like, dude, police are trained to look for these things. So a lot of times when a police officer's walking into a house, they are already looking to see if there's forced entry, anything missing, anything looks like it had been gone through or anything like that. And they are going to tell random people around them, like, hey, I'm looking for these things. No, they're just trained to look for them, okay? Now, look, like you said, the case we just talked about earlier, that evidence is too crazy. You can only look at the body and say, whoa, that just needs to be looked into further.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? This is not one of those cases. Yeah. So it is not, I don't believe there's some conspiracy going on here. I think that him and his ex and his fiance, or whatever people are calling her, had a horribly toxic past. And I do think there's a possibility maybe she came there because they hadn't been together for like a year or something like that, where he was literally saying, like, stay away from me. You're stalking me. She was threatening to end him, all this stuff. So when she showed up there and had a whole breakdown in front of everybody, in front of his house where the news crews were, do I think that was self-centered? Probably, okay? Probably. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I think there was something wrong going on here. He was a drug addict, and he had drugs in his system. Can you imagine trying to set up a scene, trying to get someone to willingly swallow Xanax, wait for it to kick in, and then huff air? Like, no way. No way. Not happening. Not possible, in my opinion. I want to know what you guys think, though. I think that there's a lot of people out there that had a lot of feeling towards Aaron Carter in a similar way that you were saying, you know, listening to his music and anything. One other leading theory, I forgot about this, is the Kanye West theory. So,
What?
Kanye West is like the black sheep of Hollywood now, right? He's been a part of it. He was part of the music scene. He was even part of like producing and all that. And he turned his back on Hollywood. He started saying all these wild claims, saying anti-Semitic stuff, and saying he was going to call people out from Hollywood that are doing bad things. All this stuff. Well, a day before Aaron's ending, he sent out a Twitter post saying, "Hey, I need to talk to you, Kanye, ... man to man."
Huh.
So people are up in arms about that, post or whatever, saying that he was trying to put people out in the light in Hollywood, call people out, and this could have something to do with it. Now, I've seen Hollywood endings of people that look suspicious.
Yeah.
This is not one of them.
I think even Marilyn Monroe's was suspicious.
Yeah.
There's certain things about it that were suspicious.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that we look at cases one by one as unbiased as we can, because if we call everything a conspiracy, nothing is a conspiracy. And there are real conspiracy situations out there. We've seen them. Epstein, dude, like that was talked about for decades before it came out. Like that is a total conspiracy of multiple nations. Yes, like there are real conspiracies out there. But if people walk around calling everything a conspiracy, nothing is a conspiracy. Nothing is.
Well, that's how you get someone like Alex Jones.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. And Alex Jones has known some stuff
that is real.
Yeah, because everything is a conspiracy to the man, there is no worth in what he's saying.
Yeah, he's just a kook.
By all
who says
average people, not his direct followers, which is fine if you follow him.
No, I'm not saying that in a bad way. He's totally known things. He has totally called things out that ended up being real and true. And I actually used to watch Alex Jones like a long time ago, like a really long time ago, before all of the Sandy Hook stuff. And it was interesting. It was actually entertaining.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I don't want to demonize him either. I think what he did was really crappy and awful.
Yep.
But I think that even though he's done really crappy things and he's kind of kooky, I do think he has good intentions.
Yep. He's another one that had a really bad head injury, and head injuries are crazy. They are scary stuff, man.
I feel like he does have some kind of issue, but...
Yep.
Yeah.
So, one other point of evidence that I wanted to point out here, too, is... just from our experience of substances and kind of how they work and things like that, having addiction in families and people we know and in real life type situations, I wondered, is Xanax a heat medication? Meaning spas, hot baths, hot weather outside can in a huge way change how they affect your body, whether they can make you pass out and everything.
I think they are.
So I looked into it. It is a heat medication. So if it was really hot in the bathroom and he was on Xanax and huffing, it's very possible that he could have been sitting clothed on the side of that tub and fell backwards. Like, it's very possible. Okay, I'm seeing too many things that make sense here. I don't see anything that I can criticize and call out. I don't see nothing that I can criticize and call out in this situation.
Or maybe he was doing it and he just didn't feel very good and was like, I'm going to go sit in the bath.
He was sick. I saw the video. I mean, I'll post a picture of it up here so you guys know what video I'm talking about. And he coughs for like 60 seconds straight, and it is a gnarly, nasty, sick-sounding, gross cough. So there was stuff going on with his lungs, man.
Wait, what other person in Hollywood had pneumonia and died?
I don't know.
I'm going to have to look that up
sickness
now.
is serious, and there's a lot of sickness that affects your lungs that can end up affecting your heart, and you can end up dropping dead from your heart.
For sure.
This just doesn't seem like anything other than what it was. I don't see anything else here other than some person that had a really hard life dealing with mental health issues, drug addiction, and going through the struggles of trying to stay clean. He was freshly sober, dude. Like, fresh. Not even a year.
Oh.
Freshly sober.
And you know, they say relapse is a part of recovery as long as you make it through it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But it can be a learning thing.
Yeah.
Like, they expect relapse and recovery.
Most people, addicts, have to relapse to understand that feeling of success and then failure, and understand it's a part of it, and like what those urges can do after you've been sober for a while. Like, it truly is part of it. And I'm just curious if maybe, you know, his mom can't grasp that fact. You know, she lost a kid.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. And then to judge, she just looks like an angry mom. She's coming after Nick and saying that, you know, shame on you for not putting more attention on this. He was your brother and all this stuff. Nick has came out and not gone to people's funerals intentionally because he didn't want to be a part of the drama. He's came out and said that his family was a tough family to be in, that somebody always had an opinion. They were always arguing, and, you know, just a lot of really strong-headed people in the family. So
what about that? So I heard something about when he died, which I didn't know the details of this at all. I just saw that he was in some kind of litigation or something with a girl who was claiming to be a victim of Nick. And that was a part of this conspiracy, because he was supposed to be coming out with some kind of information. He was supposed to be doing something. He was making headway in this case against his brother.
I'm pretty sure.
And other people.
I'm pretty sure when he went to rehab, all that stopped.
Okay.
Yep. I'm pretty sure. I can verify and do an update for you guys, but I'm pretty sure all that stopped when he went to rehab and he was diagnosed with, you know, that's a serious diagnosis. Acute anxiety, multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia, and severe depression, I think. Not manic depression, because I don't think you can be manic depressive and schizo at the same time.
Okay, but that's so many things. Like, was he sober when he got diagnosed with these? Because that's important, if he was sober or not.
I don't know.
Also, that many things. Like, there's got to be... Like, what's the trauma there, dude? Like, what happened? Because that's crazy. And he was out there. He
lost a sister.
He was out there, but, like, he was, like, a functioning person to an extent.
I don't know. He looks pretty rough in some of the pictures and stuff that
Is there a point where he wasn't functioning at all?
Going on, maybe. He has multiple run-ins with cops and arrest records and things like that I didn't write down to even go into. One other evidence, though, is that just the night before, he was texting somebody who... was supposedly getting a substance for him, supposed to be getting something for him, and it cost $800. And the guy said, you know, I got that for you, whatever, it's $800. And Aaron responds saying, oh, I don't need that anymore. And the guy responded saying, it's too late, I got it, you know, like, you have to, basically. And, what was said? It was some sort of halfway threat, and Aaron responded saying, "Is that a threat?" And then no more response. So, again, though, like, are we talking about a mid-level drug dealer and then expecting him to put on such a perfect ending here. Like,
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
it just,
yeah.
to me, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I feel for his family. You know, it sucks that the world had to lose him. It sounded like he was really working hard to get back his son and get on the right track. And, you know, he left the world too soon. But from everything I'm seeing, I just don't see any connection or conspiracy or failed police work or anything like that. I definitely want to know what you guys think, though.
Yeah, if you have any additional information, you know, if you think it was or was not. I mean, I definitely remember seeing the rumors floating around, and after watching his interviews and stuff, I was like, man, I don't know if I can get into that craziness right now. Because it was a lot.
It's a weird situation that we're reporting on a crime where there's no, like, questionable information, but I thought it was equally important because it's also good to highlight the importance of mental health and addiction, and I'll have the numbers up on the screen too during this, but you know, that's another kid that's going to grow up without a dad because of addiction.
Yep.
And mental health issues. So if there's one thing I feel like we could do better as a country, it's on addiction and mental health issues.
Dude, I think that literally could almost be the solution to all of our problems. Almost.
Yeah, maybe.
Like literally 80% of our issues, if we just focused on mental health and treating certain things as mental health issues. Like, addiction isn't a crime. It's a mental health issue.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. But, yeah, if you've been touched by addiction or you're having mental health issues, the numbers will be up on the screen. And you
can't do it by yourself. You need other people.
Reach out as soon as possible. Yep. So
this is life or death.
There's no room for ego in these things, you know. Mm-hmm. And every family in the entire nation has been touched by this stuff, you guys. I've never met a single one that doesn't have mental health issues or addiction, which is the same thing. But so it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And there's still some stigma out there, and we got to work past that to reduce situations like this. I feel for his mom. It sucks, I'm sure, being a parent and having to bury a kid. I just don't see a conspiracy.
I don't either. I don't think it was. He wasn't on the verge of exposing anything insane, you know?
If I'm missing something, please share. I would be willing to open this back up and dig a little further, you know, but it looks pretty straightforward to me. Let me know what you think, though.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think the girlfriend was capable of that.
No. Not
at all.